approximately 13 months ago, I was sitting on the floor of my dorm room, frantically filling out an application for a study abroad program. A program that I had just found out about that week, and one that I was not really convinced I wanted to do. It was with a professor I had never met, to a country I had never visited, and whose language I had never studied, and I had no knowledge of the other students applying. 1 week later, on November 6th, I was sitting outside of campus grounds when I received an email. Dear Hannah, congratulations. I am glad to welcome you to the class of 2014 Casa Ardum Fall Program. Our identifier as Abroad Geeks, and more specifically Casa Ardum students, began over 1 year ago, well before we ever stepped foot into this house. And it will continue when we walk out that door for the last time and roll our suitcases past our neighbors Peggy and Nina in the corner pub and board the plane home. We've all heard stories about what I like to call PSAD, or Post-Study Abroad Depression. We're dreading it ourselves, and we cringe every time someone tells us how many days we have left. It's no secret that students have a hard time adjusting back to life at wage after studying abroad. And I think it's because they're convinced that life abroad is better, when in fact, life at home should be better because we have studied abroad. So as we're getting ready to leave, you're probably sad about leaving behind the big things, like the city of Venice, or casually traveling around Europe on the weekends. But I think if we stop and reflect for a moment, we'll realize that it's the small parts of our daily lives that, when added together, are really what have made this semester great. And what's even better is that we don't have to leave these things behind. So the first thing that we can take back with us is beauty. Okay, how many pictures of the Grand Canal at sunset do you have? There's a reason why Venice is #1 on the Huffington Post list of top 50 places to visit. It's a beautiful city. But it's not the only beauty that we've been surrounded by this semester. In an email to my friend Carrie back at Wake, I remember telling her that this semester is really the first time that I've considered my mind to be beautiful. We spent this semester living and learning all in the same place, and it's allowed us to engage in intellectual conversations outside of the classroom and immediately apply what we're learning to our daily lives. Who's to say we can't do that back at Wake? We should always be living and learning in the same space, but we can't do it alone. I think it was Brooke Lucas who, in one of our very first public speaking exercises, said that she wanted to be the best version of herself this semester. Well, here we are in our last public speaking class, and I can honestly say that I have been the best version of myself this semester because of you all. Surround yourselves with people who make you beautiful by allowing you and even encouraging you to be the best version of yourselves. And these people who make you beautiful will gradually start to feel like family. Which brings me to the second thing that we can bring back with us, and that is home. When Alessandra was giving us the grand tour of the house when we first arrived, I remember being a little nervous about the prospect of sharing 3 sinks, 3 toilets, and 3 showers with 19 other people, 4 of them guys. Sharing a space like a bathroom forces us to be vulnerable. For example, we've seen each other without makeup, walking around in towels, and know small but intimate details about each other's daily routines, whether we want to or not. Being vulnerable like this has allowed us to become what I think we would all consider to be a family. And where you have a family, you have a home. I came across an article in the Smithsonian Magazine Online where the author was describing visiting her deceased father's home, and she said this: "It wasn't only his absence we felt. It was as though something had vanished from every object in the house. They had, in fact, become merely objects. The person whose heart and mind could bind them into a single thing, a home, had gone." What she's illustrating is that a place is not a home without the people who make it a home. Now, maybe we've been each other's only options for friends this semester, but I would venture to say that we've grown close to the point where we resemble family. So don't abandon each other when we get back to Wake. Continue to find your home amongst each other and others by being vulnerable in small ways. Now, I'd be mistaken if I didn't stop to reminisce for a little while, even though I want us to focus on the future. I don't want to go a day without waking up or falling asleep to the sound of water lapping against the house. I don't want to go a day without splitting a bottle of wine with tea or picking some sort of argument with Darius. I don't want to go a day without walking along the Zachary at sunset or showing up to class in sock feet and maybe my pajamas on a bad day. And to those times when we gossiped about each other behind one another's backs, or yelled at one another about the kitchen, or posted on Facebook about dirty pots or broken phones. To Those times, I say this, a quote from one of my favorite songs. The sun, it does not cause us to grow. It is the rain that will strengthen your soul, and it will make you whole. Here is to a semester of wholeness. But don't leave a part of yourself here. Return to make whole so that you can surround yourselves with beauty and continue to find a home among people who will make you the best version of yourselves.
Well done. And questions for Hannah?
It's kind of hard to ask questions on
I know.
it.
It's completely fine to let it sit like that.
What was the name of the song?
It's called Hello, My Old Heart by the Hellos.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. And I agree that because this speech is going to be very moving and, give us pause that way, it's okay if you guys don't have a question and just want to take it in. Thank you, Hannah. And a song. Hold on, let me make sure. Good.
We good?
Hold on, just 1 second. Darius?
Yes.
I have. Yeah, never mind. There we are.
Thank you all for gathering here on such short notice. It's a sad moment, people. A sad moment indeed. Something I believe all of us as current residents here in Venice wish would never come to happen. Something we have cherished so much is now quickly being snatched away from us by the claws of time. It felt as if it was only yesterday that we were having the time of our lives, and now we're dreading for this week to even pass. We are gathered here today to celebrate and commemorate this past semester and to pay our respects to the moments and memories we've had, so that when we look back at our own lives, we'll know that the time spent abroad was both worthwhile and meaningful. It's been quite a joyful, adventurous, and returning semester for all of us. Time and time again, I've heard that these years are the best years of our lives and we should live it to the fullest. But oftentimes I feel as though we take this for granted. But by coming abroad, we are achieving this unique opportunity that many dream of during the peak years of our lives. Not only are we achieving this unique opportunity during the best years of our lives, but we're also achieving it with the people that we now hold dear. I'm going to be honest, I haven't laughed this much since I have come in abroad. The amount of joy being abroad has brought to me living with people my own age is immeasurable, and I'm sure we can all agree on that. I remember all the dance parties, initiated mostly by Hannah and T. Late at night, usually right before a big assignments due. But I also remember the biggest dance party of them all. It was the night before the symposium, and the guys trying to wonder what we can do to be more productive. So there we go to the laundry room, grab our supplies, and start quietly and peacefully ironing away. And moments later, all we hear is wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And the entire house is downstairs dancing away and doing God knows what. But let's not forget the Monday dinners, where we all wonder what's being made, when it's going to be ready, and as soon as it is, we rush up there and immediately start sharing the stories from our previous travels. And even if the stories weren't interesting, like the one in Athens about staying next to a strip club, or randomly changing in a van, or even compromising the safety of this house by giving away our address to a lovely man people met in Croatia. Even if the stories weren't interesting enough, the race for seconds was always a source of entertainment. Jake and T always battling each other till the death for the last piece of gelato or peach cobbler. These are only a few instances where studying abroad has brought me an immense amount of joy, and I'm sure we can all agree. Studying abroad hasn't just allowed us to listen to other people's stories, but it's also allowed us to live and experience stories for ourselves. For some, adventures taking place here will be the greatest adventures that we will ever take in our lives. It's amazing to think that this group as a whole, as a collective group, have been to each corner of Europe. From the Harry Potter Museum in London, all the way to the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, from dog sledding in Norway to tanning in Sicily. This group has been everywhere. We can all relate to the really late night sketchy trains or even the interesting hostel roommates, but in the end, from the sunsets in the Greek islands, we have seen some amazing places and have experienced some very interesting things that we will forever cherish. Studying abroad has opened our eyes, or at least mine. I always knew that there's a big, great world out there, but it's one thing to just talk about it and think about it, and it was an entirely different thing to actually see it and live it for yourself. But let's focus on the culture we all know here in Italy. By living here in Italy these past few months, many of us have become independent for the first time, and for others it has only strengthened their independence. From traveling Europe alone or with friends, and to our almost daily walks to Italy. I remember the first few days here, I was afraid that I was going to get sick by drinking the water here in Venice. So Jake and I go down to Villa and immediately buy bottles of water, and on the way back, we start drinking it and immediately spit it out and start spazzing out about what we just drank. Later did we realize it was Frizzante water, a phenomenon in Italy that I still don't understand, but it's okay. It's a culture that we grew to and accustomed to and learned to love. But let's not forget why we're here. Family, friends, and loved ones are gathered here today due to the passing of our very own study abroad experience. For some, you will continue on in life and maybe find another study abroad program to fill that void it left behind. But for others, we can't imagine to replace it, for there's no other program that we will love as much as we have loved our fall 2014 study abroad program. It has showed us the most interesting and humorous times of our lives, and has taught us to expand our horizons and immerse ourselves with other people and cultures, some experiences we will never forget. Rest in peace, dear friend. You will be missed.
Good job, Assam. And questions? I hear.
Who wins the second fight?
I definitely think it's Jake.
Oh, interesting.
No,